Welcome back to the Weight of Coaching podcast. I am, oh, shoot, I'll just edit that.
Fix it in post,
Welcome,
man.
oh, that's what I'm saying. Welcome back to the Method Barbell podcast, The Weight of Coaching, where we explore coaching systems, athlete development, and the future of weightlifting. Today I'm joined by Aaron Adams, head coach of the LSUS weightlifting team. How are you doing, Aaron?
Good. It's a beautiful day. Thanks for having me on, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Of course. So, for those who might not know you, what kind of brings you to weightlifting and becoming the head coach of LSUS?
So I started weightlifting in the year 2000, which probably a lot of your listeners weren't even born yet.
Wow,
But dating everyone.
I'm getting close to that too. So,
Oh, it's get ready. So I was an Olympic lifter, made a bunch of international teams, and I ended up coming to LSUS in 2006 when I graduated high school. Collegiate weightlifting didn't really exist as a really full kind of fleshed out idea at the time. So LSUS was one of the only programs in America that had college weightlifting. So I decided that I had some friends on the team, some more well-known names like Kendrick Ferris, where we had been on international teams growing up. And he said, "Come on down to Shreveport, man. You'll love it." Because I'm originally from New Jersey. So moving from New Jersey to Louisiana was a very a big change culturally, as you can probably imagine. But so I came down here, got my undergrad, lifted, made a couple international teams, world teams, junior world teams. Then I eventually left college, retired officially from weightlifting, and got my master's degree, and did a few other things, mostly within tech, AI, acupuncture, uh, a bunch of different. Yeah, I was all over the place, man. So we had done that, and then I had gotten a call that they were looking to hire some support for the Human Performance Lab at LSUS. And I've been wanting to come back. I have kids. My wife's from here, from Shreveport. So I wanted to get back to the grannies and hang out. So that's how I ended up back down here. And eventually, under Dr. Kyle Pierce, who is in the IWF Hall of Fame, he's in the USA Weightlifting Hall of Fame, the USA Track and Field Coaches Association Hall of Fame. He's when I say goated, truly. So when he asked if I would take over the college part of the program, not necessarily the community aspect, I was like, absolutely yes. And so we revitalized the program, and here we are today.
I know talking off camera, you mentioned that you kind of have multiple roles.
Yeah.
What do those kind of look like?
So I am the human performance lab manager. So I do all of the experiments through our human performance lab. So we have an environmental chamber that goes from -70 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you that are more on the imperial system as opposed to not. We do a lot of physiological testing for athletics. We do a lot of recovery studies for athletics. Looking at the difference between e-stim and compression boot therapy or cold water immersion or contrast therapies, things like that. We'll do a lot of physiological testing, seeing what the difference is, like comparative analysis between high school, college, like NAIA versus D3 versus D1 athletes, and seeing kind of how those metrics line up. So that's what I do for the lab. I'm also a professor, so I teach a couple classes every single semester, mostly exercise phys and intro to fitness and things like that, fitness management, stuff like that. And then I do all of the eligibility for all of the teams here. I'm also the strength and conditioning coach for all of the teams here. I run the weightlifting program as well, and still have time to write papers and stuff like that somehow. So I'm a man of many hats.
I was going to say I don't know how you keep up with all of that.
Organization is very, very important to me. Lots of project management tools. I'll say that.
Good. What are some of the cool things coming out of the Human Performance Lab?
Probably product testing is the biggest one. Like you can see behind me, people listening on the road cannot see behind me. But we do a lot of testing for tier. So all of their shoes that they make, there's like a running shoe that's probably going to come out It'll come out by the time this gets posted, more likely than not, because it's in the next few days. Like running shoes, specifically like more endurance stuff. But then we also tested the L1s, the L2s, the tier forces. Like we get those early in product development, and then we test them, give that information back to tier so that they can make whatever last little adjustments that they need to make. So that's one big one. We do firefighter studies. That's another big one. And then we're going to start doing a recovery study on weightlifters specifically, to see which is better, like cold water immersion, E-stim, contrast therapy, compression therapy, things like that. So that's going to be on the docket for that. But that's my scientist hat.
What are some of the metrics that you're tracking for the recovery?
Yeah. So there's C-reactive protein's a big one. So that's like the stress protein that gets released, like mostly like cortisol. So you're trying to see how much stress is going on. There are also some more proteins that get released, especially with muscle damage, that you can just do from like capillary testing. The biggest one though is perceived recovery. So I say this all the time when people talk about programming. I say like programming, I don't think actually matters. I think how much you agree with the program, how much you buy into it matters more than the actual program being written. Seems like that's the same kind of thing with recovery studies. You see this a lot with, like in the actual literature, like when you look at it with endurance athletes, soccer, basketball, long distance running, the perception of recovery is almost more important than the recovery itself. So eSTEM has like the best bang for your buck, um, in the literature at least. So we're trying to see, is that just because it's effectively becoming like a muscle pump, right? Because when you hook up those electrodes, like your muscles actually fire, and that gets out bad stuff and brings in good stuff, specifically white blood cells. Um, so we're trying to figure out about where does that line kind of cross. And that's what I think is one of the more important things about research, is that you're asking questions. You're not really trying to prove an answer. Like just what does it matter? And I think for high science that gets lost a lot, where it's like you need to have a hypothesis, and sometimes you just need to ask questions, right? Like that's essentially what a hypothesis is a reason to ask a question. I don't know. I just don't get caught up with the like, I think this is this. I mean, maybe let me test it out and find out, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Well, then you start reading some research and you realize their methods align with them trying to get their answer, and you're like, well, okay, let's wait a second here.
Yeah, like we
Uh,
saw. I was reading one recovery study the other day about E-stim, and it was like E-stim is no more effective than active rest. And when they did the E-stim study, they turned on the E-stim, but it wasn't enough to actually elicit a muscular contraction. So they were testing it against sham, and I'm like, well, that's not really how it's used. So yes, I understand what they're doing. They're trying to see, is the electricity the thing that actually aids in the recovery, not the contraction of the muscle. Um, so that was interesting, where it's like, well, this shows nothing happened, and it's like,
yeah. When how do you kind of format that? Do you use the weightlifting team that you're currently coaching for that research?
yeah. So we'll do most of the time, right? Like I say this a lot, like soccer players care about soccer, basketball players care about basketball, weightlifters care about weightlifters. So we want to make sure that we're testing the population that we actually want to give information to. There's a really good Instagram called Evidence Strong. I don't know if you follow them. Phenomenal what I mean, they're super helpful just to me, just because I'm like, I didn't even know this literature was out, so I'll read it. But that's something where they specifically look at people that are testing weightlifters, which is an interesting population to do. So we don't make them do it. It's definitely like a semi-voluntold, like help out your community by being a test subject for this. But yeah, we do test weightlifters. We'll test the soccer team. We'll test the baseball team, um, in isolation, basically. And then once you do all that testing, right, then you can compare sport to sport. Oh, the compression sleeves really matter for baseball. It seems they like it a lot more versus contrast therapy, like the weightlifters seem to get a little bit more out of. And it's the sport demands different things, right? Like weightlifting is a much different sport than baseball. So it's going to have different neuromuscular demands and things like that. So you do want to test those kind of like in silo.
Yeah, I every time that I get closer in like these studies and research, I find myself like looking at how often is it that it's just like what you enjoy is the thing that matters. You kind of mentioned that earlier. So when you're coaching your weightlifting team, what does that kind of look like on like a macro scale? Like how are you developing the program? How are you developing the recovery habits?
Yeah. Every person is an individual, right? Like there is no, I think we know this now as coaches, there is no one program that will work for everybody forever. Um, there's definitely trends, right? Like, yes, you need to snatch. Yes, you need to clean and jerk. Yes, you need to squat. Yeah, you should probably deadlift. I know some coaches are very, very afraid of that, but it is kind of like one of those evil necessities because we do pick up heavy objects off the ground. So deadlifts sadly are important, or not sadly. I love deadlifting personally. Um, so each individual, we run everybody through a template first. So we have our LSUS program, which has been on Reddit since like Reddit existed. It was on message boards before that. Some of the older people may remember a website called Go Heavy. If you don't, go on the Wayback Machine and look at goheavy.com and you can see all the things that were posted there as like a message board back when the internet was brand new. But like it's been the same program since 2002, 2003. And that's the one that's tested specifically by ETSU, Doc Stone, and Dr. Pierce. So we run that same basic template of a program. From that, I truly believe that a program is just a question. So we're asking the body to do X, Y, or Z, and we want to make sure that the body is doing X, Y, or Z. And we're asking a question of if we add in more RDLs, will our pull off the floor get stronger? Will our knees get out of the way? Will we be in a better biomechanical state to lift the most amount of weight? That's essentially what we're asking. And so we make those adjustments, and I don't write their programs for them. They write their programs. I just simply um, guide them, right? It's like a shepherd, right? I'm just like, hey, we're going to go this way, but own your own program. If you think that you're super strong and you don't have anything to work on, great. This probably isn't the place for you. Um, sorry, automatic lights. But if you do enjoy it and you do like making different kind of corrections, this is going to be a great place for you, especially if you want to take ownership and you're down to ask yourself, what do I need to do better? So that's really how I go into like program design and things like that, is that everybody's an individual, everybody's on their own little journey through weightlifting. And I say probably way too much, many, many times a day. It's not about weightlifting. You are not going to be a professional weightlifter forever. You're not going to be able to retire as a weightlifter and, get money just like you would in American football or baseball or basketball. This is a sport that you dedicate your life to for basically zero return. The return is actually what you learn about yourself on the platform that gets translated off the platform. Like this is a sport of failure. The only way you know how much you can do is by what you can't. Because if you go in and you squat 200 kilos, right, Jordan? Like you go in, you back squat 200, and I say, what's your best? And you say 200. And how do you know that you can't make 205? Well, you try it, right? And then you miss it. And then you know what your limits are. And that's a lot like life. Like life is defined by failures. The sport is defined only by failures. My least favorite competition was the one where I went 6 for 6 because I think I left kilos on the platform.
How do you kind of manage trying to teach these lessons? So generally, kids going through that age range, late teens to early 20s, they're a little rebellious.
Yeah, I think I do it pretty poorly sometimes. um, I'm also a dad of two. So I have a 6 and an 8 year old at home, and 6 and 8 year olds and 18 to 20 year olds act very, very similar. Just their wants and likes are different. Um, like the managing of expectations, I think, is the biggest thing because a lot of the kids think that they're going to be something, and that may or may not be true. A lot of it is reframing. So this weekend we lifted at the American Open Series 2 in Fort Worth, Texas, and one kid had went 2 for 6. So he went 2 for 6, which was great. Like, it's fine. You didn't bomb out or anything like that. Made his openers. And he said, I did the exact same thing I did last time. And I said, okay, well, at the last competition, how many makes did you go? Oh, I went 4 for 6. I said, okay, so let's reframe this, right? You did exactly the same weight, but you did it in 2 lifts instead of 4. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, then we're getting better. Right. Yeah, but I missed 4 lifts. Right. But you had 4 attempts that you tried something that you know now that you can't do in competition. So now we have something to work. So it's a lot of reframing what is a defeat and what is a success. And you do that in training every day, right? Like what is necessarily a bad day might just be your body needs to recover, right? It needs a little bit more time. It's starting to, or like my favorite is when I know anyone who has lifted has felt this where they're like, I don't know how to snatch anymore. I just don't. Like my body
Once
is
a week.
not doing the thing it was. Yeah, exactly. Like my body's not doing what it's supposed to do normally. Well, what it's probably doing is it's probably trying to prime different neurological centers to say, do something different. And now your body's starting to do that. It's starting to do something different, which is great. That's the whole point. Don't get mad at yourself by being better. It's just different. Your body's trying to figure it out. Give it some grace, man. Like, allow your body to do what the body does. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, on Saturday I had 200 kilo back squats, and I was supposed to do a triple, and I only hit two, and I was like the third one, no chance. And 2 days later, like yesterday, I hit it for four, which was like a PR for it was my 3 RM. I hit it for four, and it's like
Nice.
so many times I have these conversations with my athletes where it's like you put so much of this expectation, this feeling of what it should be on it, and then instead of just like moving on and like being like, all right, this happened, I'm just gonna do the next day like it's a brand new day, they focus on that and then they spiral themselves through this abyss, and then you're like,
Man, yeah.
what do you think's gonna happen?
I mean, I'm no better. Like, it's not like I don't do it either. I do it in real life all the time. But it's just a reframing. And I think you said something really important there, which was, I should be able to do this. Says who? Says who? Like, you just made all of a sudden now you're God. I should be able to. We're living in the should and shouldn'ts now. Let me tell you what my therapist says. Like, like the should and shouldn'ts are not places that you want to be, right? I should. Why do you have an expectation that you're owed something? You're not owed anything. You're not even owed this day, right? I could walk out of this door and walk into the environmental chamber and die, right? Like, it just all of a sudden it turns on, sucks out all the oxygen. I'm dead. I'm not
Oh
owed
my
anything,
gosh.
right? Like, I should be alive. Well, who says? Right? I should be able to squat 200. Who says? Well, because I put all this work in and blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, I was deserved a promotion 2 years ago, right? I should have gotten it, but I didn't. What's the big deal? That's not actually true, but still,
Oh,
same kind of idea.
I was like, is there some emotion behind this
Nah,
one?
nah, nah, nah. I actually don't want a promotion. I love what I do. Like, I'm good right here. But I think that's one of those things that gets athletes into a lot of trouble is that they think that they're owed something, and you're not. You're you're owed another day of training. That's it.
Yeah, I saw this one person talked about each day is just the past 3 months of training leading up to it. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that, where I was just like, yeah, so often it's like people just focus on like the past week. And
Yeah.
I'll ask my athletes and I'll be like, how's your or stress been of the past like 2 months? And they're like, oh my gosh, so high. And then it's like, well, how's your nutrition been? How's your like new or hydration? And stress management. They're like terrible. And I'm like, well, you can't be sitting here expecting these like amazing miracles while you're not doing all of these things to make yourself set up for that. And then
Yeah.
those expectations, or like reframing it of like, just because you did everything doesn't mean you expect or get to expect that you're going to be successful, because that's not how it
No,
works either.
no, it's not. And that's like, I've said very similar things, especially like some of our kids are on a taper week pre-competition and they can't hit their taper numbers. They can't hit 85% or whatever. I'm like, this is perfect. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, all the work's been done. Like if you're trying to get better now, like you've already lost. All the work has been done. If you're having a bad week, this is the perfect week to do it. Break yourself down, lose all confidence, lose all expectations of what you should and shouldn't do. So that we get into competition, you just do what I tell you to, and we'll have a great time. Like we're gonna have fun. It's I said this a lot this last weekend at AO2. We are playing weightlifting. It's a game. Like we're playing a game. You get 3 snatches, you get 3 clean and jerks, you can move them all around, you can kill people's 2-minute clocks, you can do all. It's a game. That's it. Why are we expecting it to be something else? It's no different than darts, right? Like we're playing weightlifting. And for a lot of people, honest to God, that's what we're doing. We're doing this for fun. We're paying to do this. So have fun, play. I don't hit home runs every time I play softball. It doesn't mean I stop playing softball. Right? I'm going out there and having fun. Like the whole point is that I get to like drink a beer with my buddies and swing a baseball bat. Whoop-de-doo. Like this is supposed to be fun. It can be serious. Like you can have serious fun, but it's still supposed to be fun, especially the competitions. The competitions should be a blast. You should never leave a competition disappointed. Even if you bombed out, you learned something from it. It's a game.
So what you're saying is we should all be shotgunning beers at competition?
I
That's what I
mean,
heard.
that's what I do. I'm just kidding.
Just like beside the platform.
There are rules against that, although I disagree with them. I think that we should have beer league weightlifting. I think it would be a lot more fun. I think the coaches should primarily be involved in that, not the athletes. I think that's what we should do. We should have a coaches session after all the athletes are done. We go out there and whatever we coached in, do 3 snatches and 3 clean and jerks, and you have to shotgun a beer before each one.
6 beers in like 30 minutes.
I ain't scared.
Good for you guys. You're the southern states. So
We are in
I don't.
Louisiana, so that's
Yeah,
pretty
I don't know.
normal. Like they'll do that at like 6 a.m. on game day. So
Wow. Good
yeah,
for you
yeah.
guys.
Go
Uh,
Tigers.
I was talking to a sports psychologist a little while ago, and we were talking about the pressure that comes up with weightlifting, where it's very similar for athletes to like only compete once every 3 months, 6 months, something along those lines, where they hype this level so high, where it's so much pressure. It's like I've trained for 6 months for this one competition. And I think one of the big things that I've been trying to work on, and I think is a mistake for coaches, is not gamifying training or putting pressure practices
Yeah,
or adding more competitions where it's like uh, athletes will be like, oh, I just want to hit the best total. I want to hit a huge PR total, and they stress themselves up and they wait so long, which only increases the stress instead of being like, well, I'm going to compete every 2 months or every month in just something. And I think
yeah. Getting
one thing
platform
that,
time.
yeah, and the people that compete so often, generally, what I've seen is athletes that have come from other sports treat competition differently and are far less anxious than the athletes who have less competition experience. And then the ones that take a long time between competitions are more anxious. So it's like if we can gamify and compete more consistently, more times in training, whatever that looks like, the less anxious we get. Is that something you kind of
Yeah, I mean we
work
max
on?
out every Saturday. Yeah, we max out every Saturday. Every Saturday. Every training session is as heavy as possible.
Hmm.
right? That goes into like auto regulation and a bunch of other sciencey stuff that we can definitely break down if you want. But ultimately, like we go auto regulation. You're allowed to max out every Saturday. Sometimes I'll tell people, like, you know how they have like a soft elbow and it might not be a press out, and I'll say, no, that was a press out, no lift, do it again. And they're like, I made it, and argue with it. And I'm like, I'm the judge right now, so no, you actually didn't make it, do it again. So then it starts to get them into that like competition vibe, or I'll look over at somebody that's about to take the bar and I'll stop them and I'll be like, oh no, it's not your turn. And they're like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, no, 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 go sit back down for 2 more minutes, which is very normal in competition. Like all of a sudden somebody made a jump or whatever. Or my favorite one, they'll get ready and they'll get set and I'll stop them and tell them to turn around so that they have to face the other way. So trying to really get them uncomfortable with their norm and just them starting to understand that like we're just snatching and clean and jerking. It's really not that big of a deal. Like we put all this onus on different things and it's like just do snatches, man. Like if you stop chasing numbers, just do snatches and clean and jerks. The numbers don't matter. They really don't. Because if I show you a lifter that's snatching 50 kilos and they do it beautifully, but it looks tough, like you could tell that it's close to their best or something and they're struggling. But technically it's like, man, that was great. And I show you someone who's doing a world record and it's the same feeling. They're still moving the bar in the same way. Let's chase that. Let's chase feeling, right? And I want to go back to one of the things that you said about like we only train every 3 months. Have you ever had a long distance girlfriend or boyfriend?
I have not. No,
Well,
I'm sure
anyone
somebody
who
has.
has had a long, as I can assure you, somebody has had a long distance girlfriend or boyfriend. There is a lot of anxiety when you haven't seen someone for 3 months, and then all of a sudden you get together in the same room, and there's a lot of expectation. Is it really that different? No, not really. It's still you're still expecting something that you've wished for, something that you've dreamed about, and I think we all know what we're talking about here. Um, it's the same kind of concept, right? It's that we want to be fulfilled. Well, uh, expectations can definitely lead to suffering.
Yeah, and the fulfillment is kind of in the journey instead, or the process instead of that outcome that we're kind of getting
Yeah,
towards.
exactly. And I think that's why we need to stop chasing outcomes, right? We need to stop chasing outcomes and start chasing the process because that's the important.
And so, how do you? We talked about trying to teach those life lessons. How do you teach chasing progress or process instead of those outcomes?
Well, that's really what we're talking about the whole time, right? If somebody comes in and it's everything from, well, I should have and I need to, and it's an expectation conversation and we need to change that. So, what do we actually need to change about it, right? How do we need to talk to ourselves? How do we need to talk to each other? And again, it's like anything else, if you can fall in love with the process of like being in a relationship, I say this all the time because relationships are just the most real thing in the world. Like everyone has a relationship, whether it's a friend, a family, a significant other, whatever it is. It's a relationship with weightlifting. Like when the kids get here for the first time, like I've recruited them, we've talked for months and months and months. Like it's courting. It's a courting process. It's the same thing as if you were trying to date someone. You talk for a little bit, you kind of feel each other out. Am I going to like this person? Am I not? And then you slowly start to get like to it. And then they get here and it's like, well, I was expecting you to be like this, or this. And I'm like, yeah, we're starting a new relationship. We need to have some kind of like back and forth and figure out an understanding. It's the same thing. It's the same thing as a relationship with a barbell. It's the same kind of process. It's like, well, I love snatches. Well, why do you love snatches over clean and jerks? Well, they're just easier for me. In what way? Right? What is it that we're missing out from clean and jerks that you're not quite getting? Because they're really not that different. Like especially cleans, like cleans and snatches, you just move your hands and it goes in a different place, but it's the same movement, right? Like, why don't you like this as opposed to this? And let's start exploring that. Is it just that you don't like being uncomfortable? No one likes being uncomfortable. No one ever likes being uncomfortable, right? I was listening to a podcast about the other devil, and it's like about basically how we really, really, really enjoy our own devil that we chose. And it's very difficult to switch to an unknown devil, right? Like the uncomfortableness around that. And my theory is like switch early and often, constantly be exploring what it is that you are afraid of. Where are those barriers so that you can move through them? Otherwise, you're going to be the exact same person that you were 20 years ago, and no one wants to see that, right? That's not weightlifting. Weightlifting is growth. Weightlifting is getting better and better and better a little bit at a time. So is relationships. So is like living. So is there are all these parallels in any sport that we just choose to ignore because we call it sport. It's not about weightlifting. None of this is about weightlifting.
I feel like we're always having that conversation with our athletes of like they'll come in with just the worst day, or they'll be like lifting and they'll be going terribly, and you're like, "What's wrong?" And they're like, "Weightlifting sucks," and I'm like, "It's probably not weightlifting." And then we go like I ask them what's going on in their life, and they tell me this laundry list, and I'm like, "Well, do you really think it's weightlifting that's causing your weightlifting problems?"
Right. Is it?
And and it never is. It almost
Never.
never is.
Never. We're talking about symptom,
Yep.
right? That's all it
Uh,
is. It's like
oh,
weightlifting gets treated differently, and it's like we're just seeing other symptoms leaking through.
yep. 100%. So shifting gears, kind of looking at the collegiate system. Being in Canada, we don't have a collegiate weightlifting
Right.
programs. So what does that kind
Although,
of
hold
look
on, real
like?
quick. Let me touch on that.
Yeah,
Any
yeah,
Canadians that want to be in the collegiate system, please come down. Because if you didn't know this, some of your brethren had come down hundreds of years ago to Louisiana, and that's why we speak French Creole. And I realize that some of you are not part of that whole Quebecian category, but still.
yeah.
So
Head
go ahead.
down,
I'm sorry to interrupt
get
you.
some learning. That's okay. What does it kind of look like down there for collegiate weightlifting?
So it's starting to become a lot more popular. So a lot of universities now, and I think we're at a weird area in collegiate sports right now where we're seeing a lot more NIL. We're seeing football slowly start to, and I want to say American football. We're seeing American football slowly start to delineate itself from the NCAA, which cuts into the NCAA's bottom line, really. So there's like a bunch of financial things going on. Um, Downriver from that, we're seeing schools kind of explore different areas where they can get students and student athletes in. Because ultimately, right, like universities are businesses. Like they have to operate like that. And I mean, education is the number one thing, but that's what they're selling. They're selling education. They're selling a piece of paper that says you get a degree in something. What's starting to happen is that schools are realizing there's a really big population of weightlifters that we are not tapping into. And as an example, like we have 25 kids on our weightlifting team currently, and we're going to eventually get to 40. 40 kids on campus that are under one sport. I mean, that's really, really good for the university. The university makes money. The university gets notoriety and credibility. The kids get experience, which is a big thing. Kids are looking for experiences in college. They're not just looking to get a piece of paper. So we're seeing a lot more of that. So as an example, there's a couple schools in Florida in the past 2 years that have adopted scholarship programs for weightlifting. Some of the other programs of schools that are doing really well, their budgets are increasing. We're seeing a lot of private universities popping up saying, hey, we want to support weightlifting and are willing to give scholarships for that. So I think it's growing. And I think what we're trying to do specifically, because I'm part of the USA Weightlifting Collegiate Commission, basically, like college university commission, is we're trying to legitimize it a little bit more to be an actual sport within those organizations, whether it be NAIA or NCAA. Those are just two different associations that deal with athletics within intercollegiate competition. So I think we're trying to legitimize that a little bit more. And I think the benefit of that is that other institutions will start to see that and start to put more money, time, and effort into it. So the fact that weightlifting is in a spot right now where it can grow collegiately is crazy to me. It's just there was like 5 programs when I got into school, maybe. Now there's like 15, 20. And it's not just clubs. Like, I mean, it's like full scholarship programs, like where you can actually get money to go to school. Like it's for weightlifting. Like we're talking about for weightlifting, not for baseball, not for like Olympic weightlifting. It's crazy. It's
It's
awesome.
crazy to me up here, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it would be beautiful if we can get like Canada in on that, but what are we gonna do?
I mean, Quebec has a lot of their clubs are within school systems, so they have such a big like influx of people coming in. In Edmonton, we have one club that has like a whole weightlifting facility. Like it looks like a US S&C gym,
Huh?
which is
Yep.
weird for up here. So it's like the amount of kids coming into that school doing weightlifting, because they'll do it for their like gym class kind of thing, is so big. And it's like we just need to keep pumping that. But getting into those systems is so hard right at the start.
Yeah. And I think really with the way education is going too, and I've been a big proponent of this for a long time. High schools should all have weightlifting teams. They really should. I mean, if you go like monetarily, if you hire a weightlifting coach, like strength and conditioning specifically, because that's like, let's be serious, that's typically what a lot of weightlifting coaches are involved in, is strength and conditioning. It is the only person that you can hire at a school where every team gets better. That's it. You hire a strength and conditioning coach or a weightlifting coach, you get a weightlifting coach, you get a powerlifting coach, maybe smaller, and you get a strength and conditioning coach for baseball, basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse, whatever it is. All of those sports get better, and you spent what, I don't know how much they make up there, but like $50,000 to $70,000. Like your return on investment is crazy. So I've always been a big proponent of getting into high schools early, because guess what? Like I look at those people. Those are the kids that I am recruiting, are the ones that are lifting in high school. And the drop off rate from, if you want to look at it, I know in America, it's probably very similar in Canada. The drop off rate from like 18, 19 to 25 is crazy. And most of the time it's because kids that like, you hit this period, right, where you move out of the house, you become an adult, right, like to your parents or whatever, and you're expected to pay for everything now. Well, the first thing I'm not paying for as a coach, I need to eat. I need to pay rent. So you have this huge drop off from 19 to 25 where all these kids stop lifting, which is the peak time to get better at weightlifting, because they don't have an opportunity, because they go away to school, they go to college, right? They might have a place to train, but where's the motivation for that and things like that? It's just like high schools are the main thing to get into. And then all of a sudden now we have these college programs that can continue that. And if you look at long-term development, that's what every other country does. Like kids in other countries go to college and they study weightlifting. That's insane. Like legitimately. Like that's crazy to think about. And we wonder why, a lot of the Asian countries and European countries, why are they so good at weightlifting? Because that's what they study. That's all they do all day. They just weightlifting. Like, what do you do? Weightlifting. What do you think about weightlifting? Like, what are you interested in? Weightlifting. Like, they just weightlifting. Funny story too. My first international meet was in 2001 in Quebec, and it was
Hey,
it was the young Louis Cyr meet. And I could tell you, if you don't know about Louis Cyr, go look him up. Crazy.
yeah, yeah. In Canada, our youth and junior pool is really small. We tended to have struggled outside of like Quebec to really
Hmm.
develop or get a lot of youth and junior. Um, and what I kind of think happens is in the States, it's far more profitable in the States than Canada. So most Canadian coaches aren't full time coaches, they're part time coaches. So the availability to kind of go recruit, go get athletes, do S&C for other sports, do all of this like side, I don't want to call it side gig, but like ten, tangential to weightlifting, where it's like I'm doing S&C and then those athletes come in eventually, it is so much smaller versus the states. There's so many more sports doing weightlifting, so many more people doing weightlifting, that it's a
There's a lot
much
more
bigger
people
thing.
too. Like you also have to
Yeah.
think like from a population standpoint, because this is funny because I teach this a lot, where I'm like, you actually have to look at the population in that area, because it's like there's there's population and there's the ability to afford a service. So there's one of two things you can do. You can either go to a high population place where they might not be able to afford the service. You can go to a place where they can afford the service, but there might not be that population. That's why I keep saying high schools are so important, because if you can get to the high schools, then it's free. It's free for them. And you give kids an opportunity to leave where they're from, which is very, very important. Kids should leave where they're from. You should not stay where you grew up for 45 years. You should, it's ingrained in human beings, especially in like, I think we ignore it in this generation a lot, but like at 18, you're supposed to go on your like vision quest, right? And then you come back and you rejoin your tribe with different experiences, different, a lot more acceptance of other people and their cultures and populations and things. Like, it's very, very important. And I like weightlifting is a great way to do that. That's like, speaking of tolerance, like I think that's why I am the way I am, because I got to go on so many international trips and got to see so many different people from so many different lifestyles that, like, man, like they're all just being human as best they can. How can we give kids more of that opportunity? Well, weightlifting is a really good way to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
Um,
call Edmonton School District, tell them you're going to take the same thing as Quebec. We're going to do that. And then you're going to send a bunch of kids to America to get an education for dirt cheap, like actually very cheap. They can get scholarships and all that. And then all of these kids now go get an education in America. And what happens after their F1 visa's up? They come back.
there are some high schools in Edmonton. Edmonton's kind of like uh, pushing it in like our province or our state for you guys, where we have a lot more coaches going into the high schools, and the high schools starting to develop these weight rooms, and a lot of them are doing weightlifting. So I'm a coach developer up here, so I'm trying to get the coaches or these like fitness center uh, managers to start learning weightlifting, to try and put in
Yeah.
little clubs so that we can kind of grow this thing. And it's starting to get a little bit bigger, which is exciting, but it's getting that inertia, that ball rolling is hard sometimes. What does
Yeah. I
the
mean, for
scholarship
sure. But
look like for the course or for you
yeah.
guys?
So different. It just depends on what university you're at. Specifically here at LSUS, we don't give full performance based athletic rides. That's more of a personal choice from our program perspective. Like we do that in soccer and baseball and basketball. I do not do that in weightlifting. You are not going to come here and just be a weightlifter. You're a student first. And the other thing is with performance based is that if I'm spending a whole lot of money on an athlete that all of a sudden tears their ACL, guess what the first thing I'm taking away is? Your scholarship, because I'm not going to pay for you to sit on a bench. And I think that's wrong. I think that's actually like not okay. So here, everybody gets the same scholarship no matter what. If you're on a junior world team or you have started lifting 2.5 years ago and you're just really trying to get better, um, you get the same thing. And I say this at every recruiting call. I don't recruit numbers. I recruit people. I don't care what your numbers are. I recruit people first. So there are scholarships. We give out-of-state tuition waivers. We give a lot of academic scholarships. We give international scholarships, transfer scholarships. There's so much money out there in the American education system, despite what everybody may think about how much it's gotten cut or whatever it is, especially in Canada. I know you guys have probably a much more skewed version of what is going on in America right now, which I can completely understand. Um, but there is a lot of money out there. And even like other programs like Lindenwood, which is a private university, they give full rides, they give scholarships. ETSU, which is a public university, they give scholarships. Menlo University, private university, gives scholarships. And then you have club programs where like Florida State is one. So you can go to Florida State or University of Florida, things like that, where you can actually go there and be a part of the club. You get in as a student, but you have a place where you can continue to lift weights. It's just things are more self-funded as opposed to with an athletics program where we pay for travel, singlets, hotels, food, like that whole deal. So it just depends on what kind of experience you want. And that's honestly, that's the nice part is that if you want to go to a big D1 university and lift weights and get that full like, college football Saturday experience, like you can absolutely do that. If you want to go to a smaller university like LSUS, because we're like a little over 10,000 students, that's considered smaller. If you want to go to a smaller university where it's like I lift weights, I go to class, I eat, and I make friends, like that's all I got. Like this is a great place for it. So there's all of these different avenues that you can actually continue your career in weightlifting and still be true to yourself about what you want your college experience to be like. And that's pretty cool that we're able to do that, like from so many different aspects of it, especially in the like college weightlifting center. Also Michigan, because I know like Michigan's up there and Canadians love Michigan, or I should say Michiganders love hockey. So I just associate that with Canada because you guys are awesome at hockey.
Yeah, I can't skate, so I'm not very good at hockey. That's for sure. I know it's
You've
disappointing.
let your countrymen down.
Uh, I have. It's terrible. What are you kind of scouting or talent IDing or personality trait IDing when you're looking for athletes?
Recruiting. Yeah. I look for movement patterns first. So, kind of like I was saying earlier, where 50 kilos or 250 kilos, like I look at the pattern. Because technique is very, very difficult to change and coach. Like it's very tough. It's a lot easier to make someone just stronger. Like that's not, it's, I say this all the time. It's not hard, but it is hard work. Um, Getting strong is very, very simple. Like you just do the strength exercises more. I usually look for a lot of technical proficiency first. And then I look for good grades. That's like a big, big thing for me is like good grades. Like high SAT scores, high ACT scores, high GPA, good student, well rounded. Cultural diversity is a big one for me too. Like I really like it when people come from all kinds of different backgrounds so that we can all get together and learn something about each other. Um, those are the big ones. And then self motivated. I've said a lot. I will not. I will not coach you for effort. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. If you don't want to try hard,
Hmm.
don't try hard. This ain't the place for you. And especially, I'll say with the newer generation is that's kind of expected that you're gonna motivate them. And I say this a lot. Like I did private training for a long time where I had my own weightlifting program and had my own like ran CrossFit gyms and did all that. It's much different when someone is paying me. In this position, I am paying you. I am paying you in education and scholarship and all that to be an athlete. This is not the same exchange that you are used to. And I've had this argument with kids over and over again. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you because you are my employee, which in most private situations, it's completely the opposite. The coach is the employee of the athlete. This is not that case. So I won't coach effort. If you don't want to be here, you don't want to try hard, go somewhere else, pay them money. That's great for you.
Yeah, Will Rattel, I don't know if you know who that is, but he posted something yesterday on YouTube talking about exactly this of like he even in like his private sector that he's working in now, it's like he doesn't want to have to coach that. It's like that's the
Mm-hmm.
standard and those are
Yep.
the values. Like you have to put the effort in. That's just a non-negotiable. And then it's like you set the high standards as the coach, not the athlete setting the standards or the values. And you like teach that, and then you put that forth, and you're like, these are the standards, these are the expectations. You have to live up to these. If not, we have to have a discussion of like what that looks like.
Right.
Uh, but a big problem that I've struggled with, like growing a private club, is like changing those expectations, those values, those standards for the athlete. Because, like you said, like you're an employee of them, and I think almost always it does a disservice to the community or the team and the culture around it. And how have you navigated trying to hold those standards when people are struggling?
Try to handle that with grace. Everyone's learning. But there's also a point where, again, I'm going to make another relationship thing. Like sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that's okay. Like I, I don't hate all my ex girlfriends. It just didn't work out, right? And it's the same kind of concept of I give you grace. We try to figure it out. We have our arguments. Like those are all good. You're supposed to have arguments with your coach. That's important. It's important to be like it's important to have an opinion, right? And to say something about that and to stand up for yourself. And sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay too. Like I have fired like clients like where I was getting paid to coach them and it's not working out anymore. I don't want to deal with the stress of you. Like I'm firing you. Here's three other coaches in the area. Call them. Secretly in my head, I'm like, if they're willing to deal with your bullshit, congrats. Like I'm good for them. Um, and even in this situation, like where I'm bringing kids in, sometimes it doesn't work. And that's not, I don't think it's not, I don't think it's a negative reflection of them. I don't think it's a negative reflection of me, but they might disagree with that. Um, but it just didn't work. Like there's like people can be different and it's like I don't hate you for being different. It's just it's not going to work for us. And I think that's the kind of balance that we have to live with as coaches is that it's not always like the same kind of thing. It's very very difficult to manage all of these relationships because again, as you know, it's not about weightlifting.
So, how do you an athlete comes and travels to come train there, gets the scholarship? What happens when you fire them or you let them go? I guess is a better question.
So I will never because of the scholarships and the way it works, we give guaranteed scholarships here. So if it doesn't work, there's another gym that you can lift out of that has Olympic weights, they have kilograms, they have works on barbells. Like it's literally 30 feet from our gym. You are more than welcome to do that. You are more than welcome to do your own coach's program. I will not take away your scholarship. You can still keep your scholarship. That is the standard for everybody. All your academic scholarships are the same. You're just not part of the team. And that's it. It's most of the time kids want to go home, right? And there's homesickness is a very real thing. Some people just actually don't want to be that far away, and I get that. Sometimes they want to stay and continue to do something. Um, Sometimes they just want to lift recreationally, right? And as opposed to like, I'm very laid back and everything, but this is still serious. Like you're still coming here to be a weightlifter, like, and I still want to win nationals. Like I still want to win universities as a team. I still want to have these individual kids win. It's not the most important thing for me, but I do want that. It'd be silly to say that I don't. But that's not my priority. Like I say this a lot when I'm recruiting kids to their coaches. It's like I already won my national championships. I already made my world teams. I don't need to live vicariously through you. I've already done it. If you don't want to do it, I don't care. It's no skin off my back. I've already won. Like same thing kids will, they'll yap at me and chirp and get in my ear and everything. And I'm like, oh man, that was a great comeback. I'm going to go sit in my trophy room and look at all my national championships and really cry about what you just said to me. Like, it's going to hurt my feelings so bad. Like, they're not the same. They're mutually exclusive things that happen. And I'm not just going to, like, again, like, these are kids. They're 18, 19, and 20 years old. Jordan, how many bad decisions have you made at 18, 19, and 20 years old?
Honestly, I was a little goody two shoes when I was younger, so not that
Well,
many
that was a
bad
bad choice.
decisions.
That was a bad choice. You
Yeah,
should have been a little
I
bit
stayed
better.
at home. I didn't. Yeah, that's my bad. I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's my
You
bad.
should have been. You should have been knocking back Molsons or Labatt's or you know getting in some trouble.
I
They.
appreciate you saying the Canadian brand.
I listen. I,
You did your
Canada's great,
research.
man. I mean, I love Canada. I used to go up there all the time. Toronto is one of my favorite cities. And Edmonton has the Oilers, right?
It does have the Oilers.
I
We
mean,
were
I'm down.
somewhat okay at hockey this year.
Surprisingly, because the last few years, you guys have taken a beating.
Yeah, I got nothing for you. We pay what, like $12.5 million a year for that guy.
Yeah, it's again, sometimes it doesn't work out,
Yeah,
right? And it's just
yeah,
like you thought you were getting one thing and you got another. Those things happen from time to time.
yep.
But again, these are kids. Like, it's not. I'm not saying I'm better than them or I'm worse or like anything. Like, choices get made. Things have to happen sometimes, and change needs to happen. It's the same thing when like when I was did private training. Like, sometimes we didn't get along and some kid would leave and go to like the rival coach. I'm not mad at you for that. You're making the best choice that you can, which is important. It's important to make choices. It's important to make bad choices too. The only way you learn from good choices and bad choices is by making both.
Something I've had a lot of conversations about, especially like in my coach developer uh, courses, is like remembering that, well, for private sector, we're very capitalistic. Like, you do not own your athletes. You do not. They're not your possession. Like, just because you gave them success or whatever that looks like doesn't mean they owe you their loyalty or allegiance. So like having those conversations where it's like, if you ever feel like I'm not the right coach for you, there are other coaches, and like having those conversations where it's being open with that and not be, because my first coach got real mad when I left and
Mm-hmm.
shunned me, all that kind of stuff, and it's like it leaves such a negative uh, taste in your mouth for so
Yeah.
long, where it's like, man, like it could have been like a fine relationship. Like, I was paying you to do a service. I no longer want you to pay, or to pay you to do the service. I'm going to pay this other person because I think that's what's best for me. And coaches up here, especially because they're retired, they have this feeling, or like have it as a second job. They have this feeling of like, no, I did all of this for you, so you should stay here. And if not, like, it's
Oh
so
yeah.
disappointing. And you're like, that's not how this works.
Stroke that ego a little bit more, right?
Yeah,
That's what it
man.
is. It's
And
like I did a lot of work personally about my ego because as a weightlifter, like especially one at a high level, I will say that I competed at a very high level. You have to be an arrogant prick. Like, you have to have an ego because picking up double body weight for a warm up is it you got to be a little different. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be a little psycho. Um, but I dude, therapy for years about how to lose my ego. It's not about me. They're making choices on their own end. They're doing the best that they can. They're operating off of what they can operate on. That's not a reflection on me. Don't take it personally. And again, that's why I try to remove my ego as much as I can from these athletes. Because honestly, like, my job is pretty unique in that I'm supposed to go out and poach athletes. Like, that's my job, right? And it's like in every other case as a weightlifting coach, that is the last thing you're supposed to do. And that's my number one job, is to go recruit kids from other coaches, and I have to somehow manage that whole relationship to make it make sense. That's a lot of me leaving my ego at the door and trying to understand where they're coming from, because when a kid comes here, especially from a private club, that coach loses income. They lose an athlete, probably a pretty good athlete that they use, right? Because this is the reality of the situation. They use that really good kid to recruit more kids, right? Like, they're losing a lot. In reality, I think they're actually gaining much more if they change their perspective on it. And that's a lot of what I try to do with coaches, is like, yes, you're losing a junior world team athlete. Yes, you're losing that $180 a month for programming and coaching or more, right? But what you're gaining is that you get to tell a whole bunch of other kids that this kid got to go to a scholarship program and is going to continue to lift for 4 to 5 years as a weightlifter at a university and get an education. To me, that is much more achievable for more kids to do than make a junior world team. You can sell that a lot. You can sell a scholarship to an American school a lot easier than you can sell, I'm going to make you a junior world team member,
yeah,
right? Like, it's all in how you're shaping that. That's why it's like, I teach this in class, like in the fitness management class about like marketing. And it's like, don't look for like what the problems are, look for what the holes are and then fill them. Right. Look at what, like, re-perspective what's going on and then sell that. And then sell it to as many people as you can, because a lot of people are not going to buy the work that it takes to make a junior world team. I promise you. Right. They'll say they want it. Right. They'll say up and down, like, I'll do it. I'll do the hard work. And they will for a day. And then when they get sore the next day, more sore than they've ever been in their entire life, maybe not so much anymore.
Yeah, I have these conversations with all the athletes when we have our goal setting meetings where it's like, oh, I want to go to nationals, or I want to do all of these things, and I'm like, okay, here are the expectations. Here's what it generally is going to look like, or I'll have them kind of go off and I'll be like, go look at somebody that did the same thing, ask them like what it took to get there, and then ask yourself like, are you willing to do that? Where it puts like that onus on them, where it's like they trained 5 days a week, didn't miss a session for 4 years. It took them 4 years to go from your level to the national level. So if you're willing to do that and you're willing to actually make those sacrifices, let's do it. But if not, then like let's manage our expectations. Let's think about this for another second before we start pretending that we're gonna do all of that work that you think you're gonna do.
Yep. I had
It's
this
all sunshine
conversation
and
yesterday with an
rainbows.
athlete. Yeah, I had this conversation yesterday with an athlete that's on the brink of a junior world team for America. And we were talking about all the other things that we need to do, the recovery, like the accessory work, just how much more can we add in to really like get over the edge. And we started talking about Hampton Morris. And I don't know if you guys follow Hampton as much as we do down here, but I'm sure you've seen how much that kid does. And I had to think back to myself because we were in a similar weight class. Like I was a 62 back in the day, and he was 61 to 65 for a long time. And I had to think to myself, like, if I was in that same situation, right? And my coach came to me and, Dr. Pierce comes over and says, you need to do all the things that Hampton's doing and you can be an Olympic medalist. Would I do it? And I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. There's no way. I know that I cared more about having a life, having kids, having relationships. Like I cared more about like having fun, not just like going out and drinking and partying, like not that kind of fun, but like literally just enjoying the day to day, not thinking about nothing but weightlifting. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't choose that. And that's a very real situation that like some people never actually process in their head, that they're not willing to do all that. And that's okay. You can actually, it's fine to not be willing to do that, because it takes a different type of person to really, really get down that rabbit hole. I mean, it takes a really, you got to be different.
It's funny that because you look at Hampton and then you look at Olivia, and they feel like they're on such opposite ends of the spectrum of like this like level of almost like attention to detail, where Hampton has so much dialed in. And I'm not saying Olivia doesn't, but it's like the amount is just so much less, and it's crazy to see that. Uh, and I had this
I think,
conversation with Oh, go ahead.
I think it's a lot closer than most people see. And I'll
Okay.
say this, I think Olivia, like Hampton is much more attention to detail, very, very
Yeah.
small minutia things, but has very little feeling about it. Olivia has a lot of feeling about it. She understands at a very real level how her body works, right? She doesn't have the numbers. She doesn't have the velocity numbers or the training numbers or the volume and the recovery and this. But she understands things at such a different level. And her coach, Steve, understands her at to a level that I don't think anyone will ever be able to quite put into words. And so I know what you're saying, and I agree with it. On the outside, they look like they're on two completely different planets. In reality, they're on the same planet on opposite sides. and it's still like a champion's planet. Like they're still going into it with the same mindset in every single workout, every single recovery session. Just one person posts it a lot more than another person does.
I was talking to my old coach, who had a couple uh, Olympians, all that kind of stuff, and it was interesting listening to him talk about two different athletes he had. One was closer to like that Hampton Morris mindset, everything really detailed, everything focused, and then one had a slightly like the more laid back, appearing mindset. And what happened when he got this second athlete in was like he tried to mold that athlete to that more robotic because that's what he was like as a coach. And what he found was like there was so much resistance, so much like butting heads because that athlete struggled and it almost like created more stress, kind of reflecting back to our start of the conversation, where it's like the recovery demands were so stressful thinking about having to do all of that recovery that they stopped being recovery modalities.
Yeah.
And so when that athlete got permission to like go have fun on the weekends or something along those lines, or given more of that autonomy, that athlete started progressing again because it stopped being like this forcing somebody into a mold and figuring that out.
Yeah. That's why they call it a spectrum,
Yeah. It's
right? And
a
I say it all the time. Like most weightlifters that are good are on the spectrum, right? And it's like, people tease me and I'm like, no, if you really look at it, like we're all on a spectrum. That's why they call it that. And it's just understanding who the athlete is as a human being, again, having grace for them to be that, and then working from their place, not from yours, right? You can't fit a square peg into a round hole. And that's not true. You actually can do it. It's just not pretty.
just gotta shave it away and wreck
Right.
the wreck the square.
Right. And very rarely is somebody a square or a circle. More likely than not, we're this weird amalgamous shape that we just have to think of and look at as beautiful and perfect. This is the person that's in front of me, and they are perfect exactly as they are. Do they need to change? Maybe. Probably. We all need to change. But as right now, I'm going to work with what's in front of me. And then tomorrow, when they come in different, I'll work with what's in front of me. And then tomorrow, when they come in different than that, I'll work with what's in front of me. Because that's my job as a coach. It's almost
I don't
like it's
want to.
not about weightlifting.
It seems like the common trend of this one. It's not about
That's
weightlifting.
It's not. You're coaching a person. You're not coaching weightlifting.
So I want to be kind to your time. I know you're a busy man. So I
I
just got
appreciate that.
two
Thank you.
two main questions.
Sure.
The first one is, how has the program kind of evolved since kind of what most people that aren't super into collegiate weightlifting, especially in Canada, know of, like Kyle Pierce, Kendrick Ferris era, and now.
We are getting back to the era that I was in, the Kyle Pierce, Kendrick Ferris era, where we had, at one point, I think we had 5 people on world teams, like 5, so damn near half the world team was out of our gym. We're getting back to that. So we have a lot more people. The environment is electric. Having 25 people in a gym, all that are weightlifters, they are serious about weightlifting, is wild. So I think we had like a kind of slump in there, and now we're getting back to that again, which I'm super excited about. Like the talent that's coming in is crazy. It's just so amazing. And like the growth that kids are making is awesome too. Like, again, it's like that's the fun part, is seeing how they're growing. But it's starting to get back to what it was then, where we would go. There was one year we won every single weight class at universities, every single one, men's and women's, every one. Um, I don't know that we're ever going to get back to that, but the competition level is a lot different now. There's a lot more programs too, which is good. I like it. But we're definitely getting back to that. And the university is showing it. They're pouring a lot of money into our program, a lot. They really see the growth in it. And that's something that I did not get to experience. When I went here, it was very much like, oh, and there happens to be weightlifting. Whereas now it's like front and center, like, no, we have weightlifting. Like, this is our deal, which is awesome.
Sweet. And the last question I have is, what were some of the biggest mistakes or learning lessons that you've had coming from kind of your earlier career into leading this team, doing all of these different roles?
Thinking that everybody thought the way I did. That was one. That was a big one because I was very, very. If I was going to do anything, I was going to do it. Like how they say don't half-ass it. I was going to whole-ass it. Like I really did. Like go in hard in the paint on every single thing. Um, I don't. I can't expect that from every kid, and it's a lot of It's the same thing I say, like I said earlier in the podcast, like that expectation, right? It's having less expectations, but also setting the standard, right? So, do I expect you to be perfect every single day and always be on time? No. Are there consequences to that? Yeah. Like, um, I think that was the biggest one for me was that not everybody thinks the way I do, and that's okay. Um, the other thing was, I think this is why I say I don't recruit numbers, I recruit people, is that I recruited numbers for a little bit there, and that did not work out well. So when you're building a team, you're also building a family. You're building an organization within that needs to operate like that. Like when we break out, right, it's family on me, family on three, because we're a family. Like it's not go pilots, it's not, weightlifting, it's not win, it's family. Um, Cohesion just matters so much. And I've made so many mistakes in my life. Like Jordan, if I went on, we'd be here for 3 days about all the mistakes I've made. Um, the biggest thing though is that you take those mistakes and you learn from them. And I think that's one of the most important things ever is that we're going to, like we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna fail. It's a sport of failure. Get used to it. What do we do after that? So yeah, lots of learnings.
I
Beautiful kids.
appreciate that.
Beautiful kids.
So thanks so much for coming on, Aaron.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I have so many questions on the human performance side and all that kind of stuff, but maybe another day, another
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm
So
down.
where can people find you?
At LSUS Weightlifting is the best way to find us on Instagram. I think we have a TikTok, but that's not my primary mode. If you guys have, wait, do they not have TikTok in Canada?
We have TikTok.
Okay.
I think I don't use TikTok.
Oh,
I
well,
spent like 4 hours a day for like a week and was like, I gotta delete this thing.
yeah, yeah, we can talk about that one day. But yeah, at LSUS Weightlifting is the best place to find us. If you have any questions or anything, just shoot me a DM. Usually after 4 p.m. Central Standard Time is when I do phone calls where I'll talk to athletes and stuff like that. And just they can ask whatever questions they want. We can have a conversation. We feel each other out. It's actually a lot of fun. I should start recording those recruiting calls actually because sometimes they're pretty cute. Um, but yeah, that's like the best place to find us. We have a website. Does anyone use websites anymore? No. Just slide into our DMs and check us out on Instagram.
Sweet. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it, thumbs up, all that kind of YouTube shenanigans. But thank you so much. This has been the Weight of Coaching podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bye.